This is an answer to a question about what do you do when you have to do something that it hurts. You can't gradually build up to it. You're in it, you have to do it. And what is the best way to deal with that? Okay, when you're trying to overcome persistent pain or move through it or deal with it in a logical way with respect to the state emotionally felt by the body and the story that you've told for a long time that you're now changing, if you've got a regular practice at night that's quite calm and you go into you're going to bed really on a background that's quite calm. It doesn't mean the pain's not there, but you're starting to commit to bringing your nervous system down, bath, bottle, bed. If you've ever looked after a child, or you have children, or been a child, you'll generally have a nighttime routine that calms you down. Bath, bottle, bed. So if you do a breathing pattern, a couple of minutes, or you can pick a variety of different ones that objectively are calming for the nervous system, and subjectively, if you practice them, they will feel that way. They are. Even if you don't like the pattern, you have to choose it. But you do it for a couple of minutes and you can be anything you want for 3 hours, 58 minutes. 2 minutes is a small commitment. Right, it's a breathing pattern. A thought pattern would be, well, I'm setting myself new standards of how I'm going to attend to myself. And the physiological position of your body or the movements you do might represent that as night as well. There might be a few movements you do. So you've got a few variations as you calm the system. So that's a time you can control it. Someone asked me a question about how do you deal with the pain that you have to push through the day. So someone might have to work, or they might have to walk the dog, or they might have to look after a dying parent, or they might have to, do the chores in the house that have to be done to keep a standard of living that's basic enough to survive. And there's an obligation there. So at the early stages, you can't avoid pain in those situations. If everybody in your life understands where you're at and they can do your housework and they can kind of do the work for you, and everyone says, oh no, you're all right, I understand where you're at, let me do my bit for myself and you don't have to. Well, that's Pollyanna and Mary Poppins, and it generally doesn't happen. So it's harder if there's a set of circumstances that you have to deal with, but the bottom line is that's a set of circumstances you've been given. Now you can stamp your feet and say I don't like it the way it is. That's crying to the moon. I'm sorry for the situation you're in if that's the case, but hey, there's something about what you've been brought here to deal with and that you've maybe got to learn from, and here's your opportunity. If you just had persistent pain and all you did was kind of 15 hours a week in an office and typed on a typewriter, all you might need to do is understand this and walk the dog. The balance to that is easy, but if you have to do a 40-hour week, if you have to come home to all the chores yourself, you've got 3 kids and an ill mother, and you're just got divorced and your husband's violent or partner's violent, it's a tougher gig. You can't just walk the dog and expect it to balance that out. You have to walk the dog, breathe easy every day, maybe lock your bedroom door, get some friends to help you, maybe a glass of wine. There needs to be a balancing effect compared to what all the other things you're going through, because the capacity you have for dealing with stuff is dependent on whether it's balanced, not the amount of stuff you're dealing with. It's whether it's balanced. So if you have to go to work and you're in pain, then at least you know now the pain isn't damage. So you are not physically damaging your body to be at work. That's just what you've got to do. So you get more chance to practice before you go to work. If you get pain, every time you get the pain, if you're like, oh, I don't like this, shouldn't be here, how can I make it easier, why is it happening to me? Well, that's victimhood, and we've all been victims. If once or twice in that week of all that pain, like, okay, this is where I'm at on this day, but I'm doing great, and in a month it's going to be a different story because I'm telling it differently now. Breathe after the pain or just before it. You're breathing anyway, remember. Maybe a pause in some of the tasks you have to do as Superman or Superwoman, from the conditioning in your head or the people who expect it of you. Maybe the pain's not that bad yet that you have to choose those breaks, but I'm sure it is. So what are you waiting for? Maybe you have to do a bit more on the night if your circumstances aren't perfect for recovery, but I don't know anybody's situation who is, and it doesn't even exist. It's kicking the can down the road to say it's hard and I've tried, and if it was only different, if the world was only different, the stars were aligned slightly differently, and the trees fell down in a different order and the leaves came, then I'll start. You're just telling yourself a story that's from the feelings of pain. They're not even conscious thoughts. They're reactions to a feeling. The thoughts trigger a justification for waiting another day. The feelings of desperation trigger the nervous system to drop into deep rest. The obligation to push through puts you into a heightened state, so you get this boom-bust pattern. Boom-bust pattern. It is human, it is normal, we've all experienced it, we will all experience it again. Those animalistic reactions are amazing. I'm so grateful that we've got them and we can tune into mine and drop off them through choice, but not always. I want to know that if my hand brushes against something hot, it reacts faster than I can think, and I want to know that the hairs on my back and my neck and my pupils dilate fast if I see a shadow at the end of the alleyway that I'm thinking of going down. You need that reaction, otherwise you'll wander down the alleyway and get a good hiding. Your skin will be melting on the radiator and you won't know nothing about it. Somebody will die and you won't even feel a sensation in your chest of loss, because you wouldn't have access to that feeling if there wasn't pain. So pain's not a bad thing, it's how you interpret it and the meaning you give it and how you react to it. What you think about it, what you feel about it, how you breathe through it, that gives the pain meaning. So it is more challenging if you have things to do. So what I would say to someone who has to do stuff physically that hurts, or has to kind of deal with a psychological situation or emotional circumstances that are challenging, that drive pain, physical and emotional elements like that, is if you have to run across the road to save a baby out of a burning building and get out of the way of the bus while you do it and your knee hurts, I don't care. The pain isn't damage. Get out of the way of the bus and go save the baby. But if your pain is how you describe it to everyone, and you've done it for years, and you want to change that, then put some boundaries in place physically at the end of that day of being super person. And in the gaps in between a tea break or a loo break, change your breathing pattern through choice, because you're breathing anyway. You're not holding your breath all day, and you're certainly not running around going You have to choose that. And what you're waiting for, choose it. Start, and have no expectation of your nervous system to change, because you understand the set of circumstances you'll be presented with are more challenging than if you didn't have those circumstances. But they are what they are on the day that they're there, and they're not your fault. But you've been presented with them for a certain reason that we couldn't possibly know as human minds. We don't know that. We don't know why things happen when they happen, but there's certainly no coincidences, and it doesn't mean people to blame for being involved in those circumstances. It doesn't mean other people aren't accountable for whatever they do that can be horrific, abhorrent. They'll get their day in court, or they won't, but that's none of your business. If it's over, it's over. And if you've got time to recover now, start recovering. And if there's stuff that needs dealing with it to make you feel objectively safe if you aren't, well, what are you waiting for there? Get help if you need help. Stand up for yourself if you're able to. And if it's over, set the boundaries to show your nervous system it's time to recover. The pain isn't damage. The hurt isn't harm. Even if you've have proof that you were damaged, okay, it's healed. It doesn't invalidate the pain that's still there to show you the damage and prove you how hurt you've been. Let's accept that. Let's have compassion for that. Let's hold some space for that. How long do you want to wait there? Feel it. And from that place of safety, of acceptance, of non-resistance, just observing where you're at the moment, from that place, what's the best next step? From a place of safety, you can project lots of potential possibilities. From a place of fear, project one based on how scared you are, and a future based on something that might never ever happen, but it becomes the focal point based on not feeling safe now. So if you can come back to the point of, I'm going to make myself feel safe, I'm going to do that consistently, and I'm going to make it a habit. Once it's a habit, you won't know the moment it became a habit. You will just notice the hairs on the back of your neck that have been up so long have gone down. You won't notice your pupils change shape. A butterfly never sees its own wings, so you won't see the spasm in your neck and your back go down. You'll just feel the change. When it happens, it's none of your business. None of your business. Your business is to be consistent, create the space for it to happen, trust in the process, commit to it, and know that you're worth it.